My name is Andrew, and I run a podcast called Serves You Right. It's all for restaurant workers, bartenders, servers, cooks. So, what I do is I try to find the best and brightest in the restaurant and bar world and share them with you. I've been in restaurants for 20 years, and I've done everything from bartender, barback, all the way up to GM. And I want to make sure that people in their path don't have to search for answers and knowledge like I had
All
to.
this flavor in a simple syrup that I could never hope to recreate. Can we use this in the bar program? And I got a very shocking no, that's too expensive. We'll continue to use the fake honey. And I just kind of remember going, wait a second, we're going to spend this much money on the food program, but the cocktail program we can't even use honey. And yes, I get it. It's $300 for like a 5 gallon bucket of honey. That's a pricey bill. We would rather spend a quarter of that. But for me, it was just going, no, I can't do this. So open a bar, and one of the first things we did was no simple syrup, no just white sugar. Our simple syrup was palm sugar because it had more salinity, it had some flavor to it, and then after that it was Dems. And I think at the height of it, we had 3 different types of honey on the menu. Buckwheat, which is like this really dark honey. We had meadow foam, which is an organ-only honey that ends up tasting like roasted marshmallows. And we had kind of like a general purpose wildflower honey. So fast forward, the bar fails, and at the end of 2021, and I'm burnt out, and I join the crew at this winery that's opening up, being the first. It's like 20 minutes from the airport. It's a winery slash restaurant slash all these things, and I got into the Noma Guide to Fermentation, and I was like, this is super cool. And then I
Got it on my
remember reading
bookshelf
this.
right over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it and I'm like, oh, I can put that in. And I'm going, this is super cool. So I started playing with kombuchas and lacto ferments and basically whatever I could legally do behind the bar. And from there, I read a book called The Flavor Matrix. And it basically, if I understand the book correctly, was this let's ask Watson, IBM's AI, to kick out recipes for food. And all these chefs look at the recipes and go, stupid AI, this sucks. But this one chef down in LA goes, fuck it, I'll give it a try. And he tries it, and all these recipes work. And the reason why they worked was what Watson was doing is it was measuring phenolic content in different ingredients and pairing ingredients based on similar phenolic structure. So like strawberries and chicken have very high percentages of the same phenolic compound. It logically goes, well, I'll put those two together. And I just thought this was fascinating. And here I'm at a winery, and most of how we perceive wine is via smell. And I start realizing, well, wait a second. Most of our interpretation of flavor is through our nose, yet we're talking about taste on the tongue, which is mostly structural. And so from then, it just became a deep dive into, okay, well, how do you unlock these different smells? How do you pair smells? And I'm, fast forward a couple of years, I'm working at this bar called The Gibson, and I'm given way too much creative freedom. I basically carte blanche, do whatever the hell I want. Which I'm going, last mistake you'll ever make. I mean, thank you. Let's go. And the owner is an old musician, and he played the Gibson guitar forever, so it's a double entendre name of the Gibson cocktail and also a Gibson guitar. And I go, hey, what's the first song you ever learned how to play on guitar? And he goes, Heartbreaker by Led Zeppelin. Cool, I have a theory. And so I start analyzing the chord structure of Heartbreaker. And I'm going, well, why do 3 notes put together create this harmony that is a chord? And why is that, why is an A chord versus something else? And could that be used in phenolic flavor theory? Could 3 molecules be put together? And so from there, I pulled on this idea of harmonizing, synergizing, and then eventually contrasting phenolic notes.
Well, clear ice just looks a lot better. That is like 90%
Sure.
of it. And it does function better or at least more consistently in drinks, but I think that really the aesthetics of it far outweigh every other factor when it comes to clear ice versus cloudy ice. So the basics of making clear ice, for those who don't know, is that a typical ice cube freezes from all sides in towards the center. And I kind of say that water wants to freeze clear. So the first part of an ice cube to freeze is the outside, and that is clear. And usually where an ice cube is cloudy is in the center of the cube. And so it took a staggeringly long time for me to figure that out. But once I did, then the solution to the problem, or the kludge, or the hack, whatever we want to call it, was if we could control the direction that the water freezes into ice, then we can put the clear part of the ice cube where we want it. So we can't get rid of cloudy ice. We can either have it not form or form in the spare part of the cube where we don't want. So long story short, we use an insulated container like a hard-sided cooler, fill that with water, put it in the freezer, and now as the water freezes starting at the top, because it's insulated on all the sides, it will push the trapped air and impurities down towards the bottom of the cooler. And so the first roughly 2/3 or 75% of that water in the cooler to freeze will be clear. And if you leave that cooler in the freezer long enough, the bottom part, when it starts freezing, will be the cloudy part.
How did you get into single malts? Was it necessity or love?
It was mostly love. It just always kind of just fascinated me how many different flavors you could pull out of, a single ingredient. American whiskey, we get to play a lot more with mash bill. You can make it sweeter. With wheat, you can make it big and bold and spicy with rye. I tend to have a bit of a penchant for the absurd. So, of course, two of my favorite distilleries are two of the hardest ones to say.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
If you were trying to get someone who's starting off this journey into the world of single malts, what would you start introducing them to?
Well, I find out what they drink first.
Okay.
I think anything in this profession, whether you're selling beer, whether you're selling whiskey, whether you're selling gin, whether you're selling wine, you find out where they are, and then you introduce them based on that.
So I've got your book, Bar Design, and what blows my mind, and I hope you could illuminate this a little bit, it seems like this book is common sense, honestly. Like, design bars for bartenders, and that will improve the experience throughout. Why is this book?
Yeah, you would think it is, but it's not. The book kind of gets into the why, and I think it's important for bartenders to understand if they want to impact the bars, restaurants, and hotels they worked at from a design side, to understand the landscape, the players, the process, the constraints. Like, why do bars end up like this? Like, put it this way. How many times do you walk behind a bar in your career? You get a new job, brand new place or not, and you walk back and you go, who designed this? Like, how am I going to make this work?
How am I going to reach seat 8? This doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
The kitchen's over there, but the gate's on the other side. This is half a station. The tower's here, but the glassware's all over there. That's one. But actually, there's the premise, I guess, that general premise, sure. But there's a ton. I think there's like 56 different topics. It's more, it's sort of half theory and why and how we got here and why it should be different, why the industry should change. And then it's at least half of here's how you do all this very specific stuff. MEP, scuppers, ADA, ergonomics, zero step, flow state, zero reach envelope, neutral spine, wellness, lighting, acoustics, like all the stuff that no matter who you are, owner, bartender, architect, food service consultant, developer, investor, if you're going to plunk your money or time into building a hospitality space that serves beverages, this is hopefully a very quick and great resource to go, oh, God, I'm so glad I read that. That just saved us 20 grand